Power BI offers functions and features to perform calculations based on time periods, such as year to date, month to date, quarter to date, etc. These calculations are crucial for analyzing trends, identifying patterns, and making comparisons over time. But to get these functions and features to work correctly, you first have to set up your data model correctly. Let's break it down. Here we have our data model for our zombie apocalypse dataset. I have one fact table detailing encounters with zombies over the course of the 6-month-long apocalypse, and I have a few dimension tables. These tables define more information of each dimension of data, such as information about the zombies, the locations, the weapons, and the survivors. This is what you will hear a lot about in Power BI tutorials and articles as a star schema. A star schema is basically your dimension tables connected to a central point, which is your fact table or fact tables if you have more than one. Within my fact table, I have a date field that shows the date of the zombie encounters. If I do nothing else with this, Power BI will auto-create behind the scenes what is called a date dimension table. This date table is pretty basic and, most importantly, doesn't give us the full functionality that creating our own date table will give us. So let's set one up. First, let's turn off the auto date time option. This will remove the date hierarchies that Power BI already auto-established in our date field. Go to File, Options and Settings, Current File, Data Load, and deselect Auto Date Time. Now, any visuals that you have in your report already is going to look pretty weird because it no longer has a hierarchy to break things down by year, month, etc. So it's just going to display things each date at a time. This is all part of the process, so just ignore it for now. Now let's get our own date table. And there are a few ways that we can go about this. You can use a date table already available to you. Many organizations have a date dimension table already in either a published Power BI model or data flow or in their data warehouse. If so, don't recreate the wheel, just bring in the table as it exists. But if you don't have a pre-built date table, then you can build one in Power BI itself, and you can do that a couple different ways. You can create the table using DAX, or you can use mscript in Power Query. Both have their pros and cons. So today, I'm going to show you both, and you can pick which one works for you. These next few minutes, we're going to show you the DAX process. If you don't want to learn this and want the Power Query option, just skip to the next chapter where we talk about that. So first, launch Power BI Desktop on your computer. Navigate to the Modeling tab at the top of the Power BI interface. Click on New Table in the Modeling tab. In the formula bar that appears, you'll write your DAX query to generate the date dimension table. Now, I've pasted the entirety of the DAX that I will be using in this video on my website. Link is in the description. If you want to jumpstart to your own date table, you can just copy and paste the DAX I have published there. So here I'll copy that DAX in and click on the checkbox. Now let's go check out the table in the table view to explain what we just did. As you can see, DAX has created a table with a host of information on it. The dates here run from January 1st, 2010 through today, and each subsequent column is simply a breakdown of the date in terms of years, month number, month name, whether it's a weekday, etc. You don't have to have the end date of today. If you need dates in the future, you can do things like changing this first little bit of DAX into something like this. And it will change the date table to have dates from January 1st, 2010 through 365 days after today's date. You can modify this to fit your particular use case. You can also get pretty fancy with this, including checking if a date is a holiday. Depending on the holiday, you could do this within the DAX itself. Or you could bring in a list of dates known to be holidays, which you can then reference within this date dimension table. This process is really useful if you work in retail, for example, and have known dates where you run special sales. You could create a sale name column and then compare performance of those sales. I didn't add that in here because I wanted to go over the main ideas in this video without getting too far into the weeds. But I did add over here a fiscal year column, which in this example is a fiscal calendar that starts on July 1st. You can modify this for your own fiscal calendar by simply changing the starting month here. Some fiscal calendars are more complicated than this. so you may have to modify this some more for your particular organization. Okay, that's the DAX method. Here's the Power Query method. Launch Power BI Desktop. Click on the Transform Data button in the Home tab to open the Power Query editor. In the Power Query editor, click on the New Source button in the Home tab and select Blank Query. In the formula bar at the top of the Power Query editor, click on Advanced Editor. I have posted the entirety of this M script on my website, just like the DAX. To save you time, you can just copy and paste from there. Link in the description. As you can see, the M script here is doing the same thing as our DAX query. We define a start date of January 1st, 2010 and an end date of today. The script then creates a list of dates and converts this into a table. With the table created, we then add in our other columns. The start and end date, like in our DAX version, can be modified to change the end date to something like 365 days after today. Just change this bit of M script to this. Click Done, and it creates the data. Some of the columns won't immediately have the exact same format as the DAX query. The easiest way to change it is just to do so as another step in your query. Once you're done, click on the Close and Apply button in the Home tab to close the Power Query editor and load the custom date dimension table into Power BI. Now that we have our minimalistic date table loaded either through DAX or Power Query, let's create a date hierarchy. This will bring back the functionality we had before with the auto date hierarchy feature we had turned off, but here we can define for ourselves exactly how we want this hierarchy structured. Go to your model view. Here, we are going to connect our date table to our fact table by establishing a relationship between the date fields. So here, I just drag from the date field in my date dimension table to the date of the encounters in my fact table. One last tiny little step. Click on the month name column you have created. In the ribbon, under Column Tools, click on Sort by Column and select Month Number. If you don't do this step, your months will often be sorted out of order and won't look right on your visuals. By sorting by the month number, you align the sequence of months to reflect a proper calendar order. Now that we have our date table, we can slice and dice the facts in our fact table, or in my case, the run-ins with our zombies, by all of these additional columns that we have in our date table. Here, I can see the run-ins with zombies on weekends and non-weekends, because why not? And finally, with our date table in place, we can also run some really cool time intelligence DAX functions. And here's an example of the total year-to-date function, which calculates a year-to-date total for a given expression. You can see here how it adds up the cumulative count of zombie encounters over time until we get to the new year, and then it starts all over again. Total month to date is very similar, adding up the month to date total for a given expression. Here you can see it add up the count of encounters for each day until the month changes to the next month, and then the month to date count starts all over again. There are a lot of other time intelligence DAX functions, which you can use now that you have your date table in place. I've listed several in the description with some basic syntax for each function. By combining these functions with your date dimension table, you can perform powerful time-based analysis and comparisons in your Power BI reports and dashboards. This makes your Power BI report more flexible and functional, giving you the win in the eyes of your end users. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe.